And I realized after that I really liked being on television and doing my tricks. And that show was amazing. Like Robin Williams was there, Lisa Kudrow was there. The band REM was backstage with me. And actually, I didn't know who the lead singer of REM was. And I was kind of tired, so I asked him to stand up so I could have a seat.
But did he?
He did.
Oh.
He got up.
Is that Michael Stipe?
Yeah.
Yeah, right band. Oh, God love him.
Yeah.
Take that. Don't you eat any of the chocolate over there.
Scene 1.
I could feel the vibration.
Is that 2 Blue Steel? I put together a kind of list of people I'd like to speak to around the idea of life doesn't always turn out like we think it was going to, and we've accomplished some pretty crazy things.
Right. And this is interesting because you said that, and I know you want to keep this like we don't want to get into it too much before we do the recording, or are we recording now?
I'm recording the whole thing just because it takes a few minutes to. Yeah, we're recording. Shoot.
Is this going live?
No, it's not live.
Unfortunately, I set out to be a magician when I was 3 years old.
That's great, though. I mean, did you set out to be a world record holder?
No, that was all different. That came in time, and as I say, I started as a magician, just magic. So that's where we're at. By the way, I know you want to stay on topic. My buddy Aaron Taylor, one of my best friends, you did a tattoo sleeve on him a couple weeks back.
Oh, yeah, with the car.
Fantastic.
Thank
really
you.
Fantastic. It was really good.
Thank you. I appreciate that. He's lovely, too.
Oh, he's great. Yeah. He does fireworks with me now.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. Okay, well, I find it's weird because when I do podcasts and stuff like this, I tend to be a little more reserved than I am in an informal conversation because I tend to go, okay, is this story acceptable for here?
Well, there's been stuff all over the board so far. You are my 5th one. So okay. I've got, yesterday I was talking to my friend who she was a mechanic turned plumber turned social media influencer. And I talked to a friend of mine who is a trans TED Talk speaker. Who else did I see?
I was booked to do a TED Talk last year, and something happened. I forget what.
Yeah. I don't know. It's just a mystery. Everything just dried up in the world.
Yeah, they decided not to do it.
Okay, Ian Stewart, I am super excited to talk to you today. Now, I had the pleasure of meeting you for the first time. I want to say it was 2017. We were promoting a street festival for the Downtown Truro Partnership. And literally the first time I ever met you, you cut an apple out of my face with a chainsaw. And I did not know that was coming.
Well, yeah, that made it more exciting. And your reaction was perfect. I remember Steve still has the video, and it's wonderful.
Oh, I still have the video because I can probably guarantee that will never happen again. And I showed it to my partner a little while ago, and he was like, that was really stressful for me to watch.
Well, he's met me. He knows what I'm about.
That's right. Yes, he did have that privilege last year as well, which we will get into.
Actually, I think this is the first time we've talked that I haven't had a chainsaw.
You're right.
Yeah.
That is true. I'm not sad about that. I'm sure there's one lurking within your reach, but I am a safe distance away.
Not here in my office, oddly.
Works for me. So I only know you as this chainsaw juggling performer. I really want to find out more about you, like how one gets to be a comedian, daredevil, magician, world record holder guy. Like, who were you in high school? What did you want to do when you graduated that led you to this path?
Well, I've never really considered myself a comedian. I'm told I'm funny, but I usually consider that's just that I do a lot of quirky stuff and it comes off as really funny, which I'm good at. I don't try to force the comedy. It just seems as though I do these weird things and people laugh at it. And in high school, I was pretty quiet. I tried to fly under the radar for the most part. And I actually thought this is what I was going to do. Well, the plan was to perform. I didn't know if I could do it full time or if it was going to be a part-time gig, but doing shows was actually what I set out primarily to do.
So that's incredible. So you were saying a little earlier that you actually wanted to be a magician from like the ripe age of 3. What do you remember what sparked your interest in magic?
I remember it clearly. I was at my play school, the Lower Onslow Play School, and we had a magician at play school, and he pulled streamers out of his mouth. And I remember all the kids ripped off a piece of the streamer, so you all had your little piece of the streamer. He actually made a rabbit come out of a hat at the end, which sounds like a stereotypical trick. I believe that is the only time I ever have seen a magician do it. Magicians don't really actually do a rabbit out of a hat very often. And he did that trick, and I said after that, I want to be a magician. My parents bought me a Fisher-Price magic kit.
Oh.
And I started learning how to do that, and long about grade 4, they got me How to Juggle for the Complete Klutz. It's a juggling book, Juggling for the Complete Klutz. It's on the bookshelf over here. I actually found it at my parents' house just a couple of months ago.
What an incredible keepsake.
Yeah, and so I learned to juggle from that book and went from there.
That's incredible. You really don't hear very often. I know myself, like when I asked my parents, like, what did I want to be when I was in kindergarten? And to my surprise, my father told me, you either wanted to be an artist or a pig farmer. And it was like the pig farmer came from my favorite book, which was The Small Pig. But I don't remember wanting to be an artist. I know I always loved drawing and drawing along with like Mr. Dress Up with the black Sharpies and stuff. Always loved it. And they continually put me in art classes growing up as well, which obviously made a difference as I'm living as an artist now. But you really don't hear very often that people find that passion early in life and just consistently go for it.
Yeah, like the Busker Fest started in Halifax when I was quite young, and my parents took me to that. And of course, I thought this was amazing. Here are these amazing performers doing this crazy stuff. And back then, the people who were at the Busker Fest were people who lived on the street and did shows. They were hardcore entertainers back then. And I saw that and thought, this is something I want to do. And oddly, I never really did much street performing, but I just enjoyed watching people out there doing what they wanted to do.
Yeah, no kidding. And like doing it, what is it about magic or that kind of performance that appeals to you? Is it like the reactions? Is it the joy? Is it the gasp? Like what about performing for people really gets you going?
These days, I love
back in the days when we were allowed to have performances.
I think it was more about just doing something that you couldn't do, something that was not supposed to happen. It created this little like, wait a minute, what's going on here? I don't understand. This shouldn't be working, but it is. And I know my son, when he was about 4 years old, I used to show him magic tricks, and I remember I was doing linking rings for him. And I remember one day he looked at me with this weird look and went, wait a minute, that wasn't supposed to happen. Up until then, the rings linked. The rings linked. That was a weird one. And they just linked, and he would just accept it. But there was this point where all of a sudden he went, wait a minute, this isn't the way things are supposed to be. And that's what I like to bring out in people. Even now, I love when I can bring out, wait a second, that shouldn't have been the way that it was.
No kidding. Yeah, when you said that about the book your parents gave me, I had this flashback of memories that they released. They may still be out, but in my, I'm going to say late single digit age, there was a big uptake in the Houdini magic kits. There was like the cards and sleight of hand and like a little, I can't even remember now, but I remember having those kits and trying so darn hard to make those sleight of hand tricks happen, but I was not gifted in that department.
I actually have a whole bunch of them in the room next door.
Do you really? I wonder if those are so big for kids now.
There's Doug and Melissa make magic kits out of nice wooden props and things to do. They're really good magic kits, and there are other magic kits out there. I see. I don't look at them too much, but I know they are available.
No kidding. I'm gonna have to look into that. I have nieces. I'm wondering. I feel like my younger niece, Isabel, is 10. I feel like that's something she would probably enjoy. She's big into Harry Potter and has all the wands. So I feel like if you can connect that kind of different magic, I wonder if she would take it the same way she has to that.
Some kids grab right onto it. And interestingly, though, most people who really get into magic now seems to be adults. I see more adults getting into it than younger people. And I don't understand why, but it just seems to be the current way it's going.
I wonder if it has to do with the rise of shows like that you yourself have appeared on, like America's Got Talent and things like that. Maybe seeing people do those things, or like, I could do that, or maybe they really enjoy the performance aspect of it.
Maybe.
And they can sing or dance.
Well, I'm sure not going to dance.
No kidding. So I would love to touch on that. Like, I couldn't believe it. Of course, when I first met you, I got all of the backstory at once. So it was like, okay, you're there, you're juggling chainsaws and fire. By the way, you've also been on America's Got Talent and you're a Guinness record holder. It was like, I cannot compute all of this. Like, how did it happen that you tapped into those mainstream performances in pop culture?
I don't really know, but I know when I was just out of high school, I really liked the David Letterman show. And so I watched Letterman, and eventually I looked at it and went, wait a second, there's a bit I could potentially be on. And I sent them letters back then with VHS tapes of me doing tricks. And figured out how to get on the show. And sure enough, they just flew me down to go on the show. And I realized after that I really liked being on television and doing my tricks. And that show was amazing. Like, Robin Williams was there, Lisa Kudrow was there. The band REM was backstage with me. And actually, I didn't know who the lead singer of REM was. And I was kind of tired, so I asked him to stand up so I could have a seat.
But did he?
He did.
Oh,
he got up.
Is that Michael Stipe?
Yeah.
Yeah, right band. Oh, God love him.
Yeah, that was actually, and everybody laughed. They were like, wow, this guy is crazy.
That's hilarious, and I love it.
Yeah, and so after that, I just tried other things. And
so Letterman was the first TV performance.
That was my first big one. And that was actually when Hurricane Juan came through, I remember. Because I forget what day Hurricane Juan was on, but it was close to a weekend if it wasn't a weekend. And I had to fly out to New York with no running water to have a shower or anything. I was a disaster, and I was a volunteer firefighter back then with Onslow Belmont, and there was a structure fire that weekend. And so I smelled like a structure fire on an airplane, and I get to New York and they had a limo waiting for me.
You're just like in the airport bathroom.
It was bad.
No kidding.
So, and after that one, the next big one was Jay Leno. And for that one, I duct taped firecrackers to my chest and lit them off.
Oh my God, Ian.
And actually, I got one right here, my mouse pad. I remember I was at my parents' house, and of course I was living there at the time. And I came up with this idea to duct tape firecrackers to my chest and light them off. And so my parents were gone somewhere, and I just thought they had a bit called Don't Try This at Home on Jay Leno. And I said, okay, I can do that. So I came up with this firecrackers thing. And finally, I strapped the firecrackers to my chest, duct taped them on, and I snuck outside the house and didn't realize my father was just coming in as I was leaving the house with firecrackers duct taped all over my chest. And he looked at me and just sort of said, "Are you going to light those?" And I said, "Yep." And he said, "Well, okay, let me go get my camera."
Oh my God.
And that's my mouse pad on my here at my computer is the picture he took to get me on that show.
Now that is a special kind of parent that would do, because I know my parents would have straight up had a stroke on the spot if they saw me covered in firecrackers and I said, "I'm going to light these, by the way."
Yeah, it was a special time. But it got me on the show.
No kidding. Did they like take out extra insurance on their house after that, or
no? Things stayed pretty much the same.
So are your parents were your parents involved in magic or performance or this kind of daredevil stuff? Like did they have any contribution to your love of these things?
They supported it.
Well, clearly.
But my father, when I was young, would learn a simple little trick, and if mom was away, he'd show us the trick, and just to keep us busy, keep us amused, me and my brother. And eventually he'd start to teach us the tricks. And that gave a little spark, a little bit of interest. And another thing I thought of recently, I just put bookcases in my office. I have a huge magic book collection. And I found one book in there that is a really, really good book. And I remember I got it from my bus driver in elementary school. He did little tricks when the bus would get stopped for the train. He'd turn around and do a couple little tricks for us. And so, that kept me going too.
No kidding. That's fantastic. So it must be really amazing for him to have watched how you have turned this into a career from something he used to enjoy doing for you guys just because.
He seems pretty interested. He taught sciences, and a lot of the stuff I do is based in science. So he's pretty interested in it.
That's fantastic. So Letterman was the start, and then Jay Leno. That's both incredible. I was fortunate enough to catch a taping of David Letterman's Tonight Show, or The Late Show, sorry, before he retired, went on a trip to New York. And I mean, it was fantastic. I can only imagine how amazing it would have been to say, like, I know that guy, or he's from where I live, kind of
oddly,
thing.
When I did David Letterman, hardly anyone here saw it because there was no power most of the places here.
That's right. Yeah, Hurricane Juan was. I lived here. I'm from Newfoundland originally. I went to university here for 4 years. Then I moved home, and then I moved back. And I lived here during Hurricane Juan. And that, as soon as you said, like, we had no running water, I'm like, oh my God, I remember it well. I still had to go to my job in retail. I couldn't shower. Like, it was horrible.
Well, you should have smelled like a structure fire on top of that.
Yeah, I at least didn't have that going for me. But yes, I do remember that. It was crazy. And yet that's too bad. And of course it wasn't, YouTube and the internet wasn't as huge as it is now, even that much time ago.
No, and that was the other thing for my own promo. Of course, you want to have video clips of all your TV spots. Back then, it wasn't even digital. It was just done on tapes. So finding a copy of the tape was difficult because nobody had power here to record it.
Oh my God. It's like things you just wouldn't even think of today.
Well, now you just log online and use a screen capture software to get it.
No kidding. Oh my God, that's hilarious. So you've actually done America's Got Talent more than once. Am I correct in saying that?
No, I've only done America's Got Talent once. I did 2 appearances. Well, kind of 2 appearances. They there's confidentiality things. I'm not sure how much I'm allowed to say, but they took me down. I did an audition, and the audition went really, really, really well. And then they brought me back for judge cuts, and that one did not go well. And that one, of course, they didn't air my audition where I did awesome, but they aired the next one where I didn't do great.
That's so unfortunate, Ian.
It is. Well, it was a matter of a lot of stuff. Like, that show is a hurricane. The minute you walk through doors, people flying everywhere. They're trying to produce a huge show with, I believe the second round is 350 acts. And so they're flying through all these acts, and the routine I was doing was big and complicated. And they were doing things like, okay, it's 8 a.m. Ian, you're up first. And I'd be going, this act takes an hour or 2 to set up. And you know that, but they know it, but they've got so much going on that they can't delegate it. It's just a train wreck. a funny train wreck.
Yeah, that's really interesting to hear that behind the scenes, because obviously what you see is this very polished effect. And I appreciate that you point out the fact that you did the 2. You had one incredible take, which is what everybody hopes for, but then the one that they air ends up being the one that was less than stellar. I was actually just listening to a podcast the other day with Julia Louis-Dreyfus, Elaine on Seinfeld. Yep. And she was talking about how she read, I can't remember what the role was now, but she was like, I am perfect for this role. I was made for this role. She went and read, and I think she said Demi Moore came out ahead of her and had clearly just nailed it, and it threw her. And she went in and did the read and did a horrible job. Couldn't get over it, left. She's like, I'm not getting this job. And then being also in the time back then that it was letters, she wrote a letter to the studio and was like, I can do this better. I can do it again. Went back in a second time and thinks she failed worse than she did the first time. But hearing people's experiences about how it's like, we don't always nail it on the, like what you see and the shiny glossy reel and stuff is not necessarily reality.
I remember at America's Got Talent, they one thing that they kept saying is, Ian, you are the definition of a Canadian. Because they kept saying, everything that has come at you, you just keep smiling and going, hiya. And I remember Nick Cannon, when I got off stage, of course, he asked to interview you, and he said, how do you feel about how that went? You disappointed? And my response was somewhere along the lines of, yeah, that's the way it goes some days. Because that is the way it goes some days.
What's the point of beating yourself up over? You can't change it. It happened. You had this experience.
Yeah, it is what it is. And I remember them looking at me going, that is not good TV. You should be so upset.
Well, that's an interesting point. Like, did they try and coach you to have a certain reaction that they wanted you to have?
I don't know, but they definitely, the show is half reality TV, so they are going to get, they want all the backstage footage of you.
Flipping tables and like changing
Well, they probably would have liked it if I did that. But they're going for the real emotions of it, where I was doing what I'm doing right now. I was hanging out going, oh, well, yeah, here we are. Hey, a lot of people saw that. That's cool. I didn't do great on that show. I mean, I made it to Judge Cuts, which is doing very well. I forget how many thousands of people applied. I made it to the top 350. But it doesn't hurt your job at all. All the people here is, you're on America's Got Talent.
That's right.
What really blew my mind was when they called me like 8 months later and asked if I wanted to come back. And I remember saying, what? You want me back? And they said, Ian, you were just so fun to have around.
That's incredible.
I was like, okay, that's cool. And I haven't ruled out doing it again. I might. I've here in COVID times, I've had time to work on a few things that I think would be good for that show. And I've got a few, but I've been asked by other shows. Britain's Got Talent asked. I did Germany's Got Talent. I did quite well in Germany's Got Talent. That was really fun. Italy's Got Talent. I wanted to go to Italy. That one was going to be good. I was wanting to go do France. France has Got Talent, but they have a Canadian content type of rule where you can't do it if you don't speak French. So unfortunately, I missed out on that. They said, we thought you spoke French. You're from Nova Scotia. Interesting, eh?
Yeah, no kidding. Although, excuse me, we just drove back through Quebec last week, and Tyson actually did 12 years of French immersion. And a couple of times when we had encountered people in Quebec, and he was like, they would speak to him and it's like, I can understand what you're saying, but I don't know how to respond. And he was just like, damn it.
When COVID started, I started taking online French lessons, thinking about opportunities to perform in French-speaking areas. And I quickly realized that unless I was going to do it all the time, I don't think it's something I can pursue.
Yeah, it's you really have to commit to it and then continue to do it. It's like everything. They say use it or lose it. If you don't keep up with it, you're just not going to just file it in your brain matrix style and pull it out when you need it.
Yeah, I wish.
I know, right? I'm really curious how you found, if you can speak to the contrast between doing America's Got Talent and Germany's Got Talent.
Oh, wow. Okay. Germany's Got Talent was so well organized and so like at America's Got Talent, they would pick you up literally like early in the morning and put you in a holding room with a microphone on and watch you interact with the people in that room all day. And then at the end of and then when you're tired and exhausted, they put you on stage. And so the days were long and grueling, very, very tough, because they don't want you on your phone. They want you engaged. And so the whole time sitting up straight and smiling and that smiling all day.
Being on.
Right. And really tough to do that. Germany's Got Talent. I remember I got there and I walked in and I only could converse with about half the people in the room because I don't speak German. And they said, okay, go in there and try and socialize with people. So I went into the room and I sat down and I found a fantastic performer from New York, a brilliant, brilliant performer. He's a conductor from an orchestra, but gum gets stuck under his chair and it's stretched out. He's trying to play piano while doing it. He balances a bass while he plays piano, and he's the most interesting performer from New York. And me and him hit it off, and I found people that I knew from YouTube and from Instagram and things like that, because they were, a lot of these shows just grab people from Instagram and so on that do cool tricks and bring them on the show. So I found all these cool people, and I was in there talking and hanging out, and somebody came up to me and goes, "You've been in here for like half an hour now. If you want to go outside and just hang out, help yourself." They were like, "We have enough footage of you in half an hour."
It's true. Like, for the amount of B-roll they're going to use, like 30 minutes is beyond enough. Like, it's crazy.
One thing I found interesting about America's Got Talent was there were other entertainers there that do similar things to me. And we would be talking and having the most wonderful conversations about crazy things and things we're going to do. And then they'd come and grab me and put me with a dancer or something like that and say, "We want you to talk to them, and we want you to ask this question. And we want you to do this particular thing." And I found that interesting because it was, they wanted to get that information to the other people, where I was going, wow, if they recorded the conversation we just had, that would be amazing.
Right. That's incredible. It's so neat. I'm sure there's few people who were able to take part in both things in different countries and see how they handled the exact same concept so differently.
Germany was, it was just interesting. Now, I burned my tongue really bad in Germany. I do this thing where I put a blowtorch out of my tongue.
I saw that just recently because I was looking stuff up before we did this interview.
And I learned that in Germany, they use a slightly different gas in their blowtorches. And so I'm on stage and I got this blowtorch. Now, most people don't know this, but when you have a lit blowtorch applied to your tongue, you can't let up. Because if you let up, it's going to go bad. So you have to really hold it there. And it was burning the heck out of my tongue. And when I pulled the torch away, like a piece of skin fell off. It was so bad.
Oh my God, that is stomach curdling.
Oh, it was. I couldn't eat the last few days I was there. And I remember I walked out the door. Like I finished the set. I got off stage and they're like, "Come here and talk to us. We want to interview you." That went great. And I'm going, I know there's an ice machine at the top of this staircase. I have to get to it.
This is emergent.
Oh, yeah. I stood there. I did the interview.
Oh, Ian.
It was good. But yeah, that show was so much fun. And after it was over, we just hung out and did things. It was so much fun.
Oh, it's so funny to think back to. I don't have any copies of this performance because it wasn't digital and I needed a cassette tape and we were in the middle of a hurricane, so nobody had power to tape it for me.
Yeah.
That's a good shot down memory lane.
Oh, for sure. And like when I did Germany's Got Talent, I remember I came home and they said, "Oh, here's the video of it." And I actually right-clicked and went save. They didn't have anything. It was just right-click, save, and had the whole clip of it.
So much easier.
Yeah.
So I have this. Do you know what this is?
Oh, very good.
I saved this from, what did you say it was, May 22nd?
22nd or 27th or something. May 27th, according to the wall.
May 27th, 2020. I'm going to have to write the date on the back of this because I kept it, because this is from when you got one of your multiple Guinness World Records. And this one was for the most consecutive beer bottle caps with a chainsaw.
Most beer bottles opened in 1 minute with a chainsaw.
In 1 minute. That's right. I am fortunate to say I've seen you get 2 of your Guinness World Records.
You even saw
I know anybody else.
You even oversaw. You were an adjudicator for 2.
That's right. I forgot about that. I was an adjudicator on a Guinness World Record. That's fantastic. I think I know the answer to this now, but one of the things I had written down was, what came first? Was it that you had the talent and realized you could go towards a Guinness record? Or did you I want to get a Guinness World Record. What can I get?
When I was a kid, I loved the Guinness books. Loved them. I'd open up every page and just go through it. I enjoyed every page of it. And then I started to see people I knew in the book, like just people you meet in the business. And I thought, is there a record I can beat? And I was rather drawn to the, danger stuff at the time, and I thought, I wonder if I could get the chainsaw juggling record. And it took a lot of work, a lot of years, and I finally got it. That was 2011, I guess. We're coming up on the 10-year, yep, September 25th, 2011.
That was your first world record?
Yep. And I didn't bother for another one until 2014. And the only reason I did that was because they invented a new record for one chainsaw and two balls, which up until then, like, I kind of believe that three chainsaws should be the only chainsaw juggling record. There's no reason to go into a whole bunch of subcategories of it. But if they're going to, I may as well see if I can do it. And so I got that one. I actually just broke that one again recently over in Bible Hill at Christmas time. I did it, that one, let's see, 1,185 throws and catches with chainsaw and two balls. First person to get over 1,000.
Oh my God, Ian, that's so. I don't want to age you, but how old were you when you got your very first record?
Just over 30.
Just over 30. That's incredible. And how long did it take? Sorry, go ahead.
Which, is for athletic records not where you expect people to be.
No kidding. I forgot my question now. Oh, how long? So from the point you decided from looking in I never went through the books, but the Guinness Book of World Records show, I used to watch that all the time growing up. And I was very intrigued, not from a point of like, I can go do this, but I just really enjoyed that entertainment of what people were accomplishing. Minus the long fingernail guy. I feel like I'll never forget that. So long I live.
The long fingernail girl was at America's Got Talent when I did it. The world's longest fingernails.
This was a man. This was a small Indian man who had the record at the time that I watched it. And it would show, like, in order to sleep, he could only sleep for a few hours at a time because then he would have to lift the nails up on the other side and flip over. And he had a lot of pain. It was like, why would you do this to yourself?
The girl who had the longest female nails cut them like 2 weeks ago. She's been growing them for like 30 years and cut them like 2 weeks ago. They had to use an angle grinder to take them off.
I can't imagine what repercussions she has from that.
You couldn't use a typewriter or anything. It's pretty wild.
Yeah, like that would be muscle atrophy, I imagine, like for the actual dexterity in your hand.
Oh, it'd be weird to close your hand into a fist again.
Oh, I never thought of that. That's true. I'm getting to the point now where my nails are too long and I have to cut them back. And I mean, that's by no means what she's used to.
Well, and I think she said she's going to keep them at 4 inches now or something.
That's manageable, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, and the Guinness book, I actually like it because I didn't realize the history of it really. Guinness Brewery and Guinness Records is the same company.
I didn't know that either.
A lot of people don't. It was a book that they put out to put in bars with neat facts that people could have discussions over. You know, hey, which bird do you think flies the highest? You know, how fast do you think somebody's done this?
Well, that is a handy piece of trivia. Oh my God, I had no idea. Well, to circle back to my question I was trying to get out was how long did it, from the point that you decided you wanted to go after a record, how long did it take from then till you actually achieved it just after 30?
Well, I started on that. It was about 5 years from when I started on it until I actually broke the record. It took a lot of time. And of course, around here, you can't practice all winter a lot of the time because once it gets cold, you can't do it at all. And you can't wear gloves when doing this stuff. So you'd kind of go down in the winter and then start in the spring and go up again. And it was a bit of a wave, but that's why most of my records are broken in the fall.
I never even thought of that.
Maybe I'm wrong on this. I think I am in the hardest hit area from COVID. I'm not sure.
You mean like business-wise?
Yeah, I think entertainment is one of the hardest hit overall. It's hard to tell. I mean, some others aren't great either.
No, but you're right. Like some people have been able to like move their business online or do things like that. But it never occurred to me until I watched the Broadway fundraiser they had on a while, like back in December, I want to say. And it was like, that never occurred to me. All of the ticket takers, the janitors, the gaffers, the costume people, like they can't do anything. They haven't worked in over a year.
I was watching one person that works in Vegas who was saying about how they were only allowed 50 people in an audience for a while. Like Vegas had set it up, they were only allowed 50 people, and he was doing something like 21 shows a week, and he wasn't making money on it. He was paying his staff because his staff hadn't worked for so long. He was going out and busting through these shows to pay his staff. And I thought, like, that's just nuts.
That's incredible. Even companies like I have a couple clients who work for Winners and HomeSense, and that company paid even their part-time staff while they were closed.
Yeah. Oh,
it was like, oh my God, there are good people out there.
Yeah. Yeah, there certainly are. And like when it comes to entertainers, I know we're going to be back at some point. A lot of people are probably not going to be here that were here when we left. People move on to other jobs and things, but I'm confident that people are going to be ready for some entertainment when we're able to get out and have it again.
No kidding. So in that vein, what have you been doing now since the shutdown of their shows and bookings that you had? How have you gotten yourself through this time?
Well, I basically said I'm going to hunker down and wait this out. And I've worked on the show a lot. I broke some more Guinness records that I finally had time to do. And I've taken a lot of lessons online because other entertainers are out of work and they've been offering lessons online for what they do. So right now I'm taking fire eating lessons. I've been eating fire for 20 years. But I found the most amazing fire eater in Bulgaria. And he is the coolest guy. And he's offered online lessons. And he's teaching me stuff that I never thought possible with fire eating.
So is it like Zoom where you guys are on there together, or you're just so you're not watching a class? You're like, you're doing it together in real time.
Yeah, we interact. It's really neat. And I had a Russian bounce juggler who sort of juggling off the floor, throwing the balls at the ground. And she was just amazing. And we did lessons for quite a while with that, just a type of juggling I'd never done before.
Ian, I love that. I love people who are constantly learning. I have a tattoo on the back of my neck that says Ancora Imparo, which was a quote from Michelangelo that says, still I am learning. Like, I just can't get enough myself, whether I'm doing like workshops or listening to podcasts. So I love to hear when people are using their time to just learn new skills or hone the ones that they have. Like it just, it gets me going.
I agree. And I've also find that being around people who are doing things and moving tends to get me energized to do it as well.
You are right. One of the best quotes I heard from Debbie Lawrence here in town was, you are who you do be with. And it's true. Like if you're around people who are energizing you and positive and about encouraging and going further, that's what you're going to be driven to do. If you're around people who are negative and couldn't be bothered and just complaining, like that's what you're going to absorb.
Definitely. We absorb the energy.
100%.
Yeah.
So we touched yesterday on,
Yeah, all of a sudden, I would love, I had to make a quick exit yesterday.
I mean, hey, life happens. That's what this podcast is about, or show is about.
So we were talking about my job.
Had you ever had, you had started entertaining so young, I wondered, has this supplemented your income your entire life, or have you ever had any other format of job?
Well, I did. I was doing shows through high school, and quite often I'd take off Friday afternoon from high school and go out and do a show at some school or some event. It was not uncommon at all. And then I got out of school. I paid my way through college doing shows and got out of college. And that time in college, I was sort of able to use to build up my clientele to the point that when I was done college, I didn't have to do what I went to college for.
What did you go to college for?
I'm a pilot.
Of course you are.
I thought I'd be a pilot. I thought that would be a really fun job, and it's neat, flying airplanes, pretty fun.
Absolutely.
But it didn't. Once you know how to fly an airplane, you know how to do it. The learning phase is over, and I remember I was finished my commercial license, and they said to me, "Oh, well, you're going to be able to take off and go up north soon and fly up north for a few years to build hours." And I thought, that doesn't sound like very much fun to me. And then they said that eventually you'll work your way to Air Canada. And I thought, we need pilots, and it's a good job, but I can't sit behind a cockpit of a plane for hours on end. I can't do that. So I had to had to give up. And I remember when I went to apply for the pilot program at the airport in Halifax, I remember when I went for my interviews, they said, you'll have to give up entertainment to be a pilot. They point blank said, you have to give it up. You have to make a choice of what you're going to do. And that didn't set well with me.
No kidding.
Yeah, so I didn't do that. But I did, I did take a job one time. I was sitting at the Subway, Tim Hortons. And this guy just walked up to me and said, do you need a job? And I thought he knew who I was and was like asking me if I could do a show somewhere or something. And I said, yeah, sure. And he said, okay, I need you to come to this address and this. And he owned a security company. And
how unsecure.
I know. So I showed up and he gave me this like uniform. It was like, okay, we need you to guard this work site overnight. And it's back shift and you're going to just guard this work site. And so I'd go in and I'd sit at my desk with a deck of cards and practice my card tricks.
Earn them while you're learning.
Yeah. And, I'd go for a walk every night. And that lasted about a month. And the last day of the month, I got off work at 7 a.m., went to an elementary school and did a magic show, then went to another elementary school and did a magic show, and then went back to work and got my paycheck that night.
Wow.
And I looked at the paycheck and I looked at what I got paid for the 2 shows and I thought, I believe I have made a decision.
No kidding.
And I was out of there days later.
That's incredible. You really don't hear, I don't know if I've heard anybody else who has had such a straight line trajectory in their career, especially something that's so off the beaten path of what people will make a living at. You can't see the air quotes if you're listening this at the podcast, but that's what I did.
Well, and it's true. I remember when I was wanting to do this, I didn't even think it was a viable career path. That's, in high school, I shouldn't have been taking the science courses. Really, I should have been taking drama, knowing what I know now. But the safe path was to take the science courses. And then
I feel like that probably helped you a lot with some of the things you're doing as well.
For sure, yes. And then when I got out, obviously, it would be rather reckless not to get some education in some manner. One thing I have laughed about a lot since COVID, though, is I had a backup plan in case I couldn't be a full-time entertainer, and that was to be a pilot. And the pilots are all out of business with COVID too.
That's true. There are definitely, my flight got canceled when I was flying up to Alberta to move Tyson back because the plane that was coming with our crew got rerouted due to weather and there was no other crew available anywhere. Yeah. Airport was a ghost town.
I obviously have a lot of friends that I made in my pilot time and they're having a rough time.
No doubt.
Yeah.
It's crazy times, no matter what industry you're in.
Well, that'll bounce back too. That'll bounce back fast. And of course, Air Canada just got a huge bailout and so on.
Don't get me started. But yes, I hope that means people are getting their money back because that's really what matters in the end.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, Ian, this has been absolutely incredible to get to know you even more than I did already. I love seeing you there with all of your records behind you. Like, what an incredible feeling. Oh, those old things? Yes.
Oh, no, that's not all of them.
I believe it. Are you working on any now?
Yep. I've got a few. I've got a fire eating record that I'm working on. I've got a 2 or 3 juggling records that I'm working on. And I've got an escape record that I'm hoping will happen. And if I can pull this off, it's going to be the big one. It's going to be the one that can't be topped. And I'm excited about that.
So is there ever going to be a point where you're like, I can't go higher than this, I'm done trying to get records? Or will you just keep going so long as there's breath in your lungs?
I think I made my point with the records. I don't really need any more records.
My point.
Yeah, I don't need any more records. However, in COVID, it is something I can do and further myself and challenge myself. I like a good challenge. So I'm going to continue to do that until I can get back to doing shows full time. And once I can do shows full time, I don't know if I'll keep breaking records or not.
Interesting. I love that. Well, I would love to close out with some rapid fire questions for you.
Let's go.
All right. This is one I'm just adding in now, but what's the worst injury? As someone who plays with fire and chainsaws, what is the worst injury you've given yourself? I'm wondering if it's the tongue.
The tongue was a bad one. The worst injury, I swallowed a sword wrong once. And
oh my God.
I think that may have been the worst one. I couldn't swallow for weeks, really. That was very uncomfortable.
Oh, Ian, very uncomfortable, I would dare say. How long ago was that?
Oh, that was over 10 years ago. And I remember because a sword, when swallowed properly, should just drop. There's no friction on it. You just get the right position and the sword falls properly. And I was doing this show and I took the sword, held it up, and it just didn't happen. And I thought, well, that's weird. So I stopped and I paused and told a joke or something. I went to do it again and it didn't happen again. And I thought, this is something inside sword swallowing, never ever do this. I thought, just give it a little tap.
Oh my God. If they're listening to the audio and can't see the faces I'm making right now, oh my God.
And that was not a good idea. But I got the sword down and got it back up and I finished the show and I couldn't talk. I just could not talk and I stopped and I came home and that was the end of sword swallowing for a long time.
Oh my God. What is your favorite snack? Talking about swallowing.
Favorite snack? I don't know. I'm rather partial to cookies, to be totally honest. I love chocolate chip cookies.
Oh, see, I love every answer I get to this. Some people are so specific, right to the brand. I just love it. Who inspires you?
I don't know per se. I like, as we talked about earlier, I like anybody who is just trying to be their best self and is trying to encourage other people to be their best selves. Like I love like Steve-O from Jackass. That guy, because he was a drug addict and he cleaned himself up and made himself really a good person. And I like anybody who does things like that just tries to become the best version of themselves.
That's a very good point. Yeah, I follow him on social media as well, and his transformation has been incredible.
I met him 2 weeks before he went into rehab.
Okay.
And that guy was a disaster.
I believe it.
Yeah, it was crazy. And then to read his biography and realize how he has progressed is just great. And he was a Ringling Brothers trained circus.
Oh, that's right. That's right. I remember seeing that. That's awesome. If you could have one dream person or dream show, so one person you could collaborate with or one show you absolutely would just die to do, what would it be in your career?
Gosh, I don't know, because I've really gone after most of the stuff I really want.
You really have.
And I've been lucky because thanks to the work I've done, I've been able to become known in the community with the people that I generally have been able to just contact the people that I want to work with and do it on some level. I mean, I've always joked, that I haven't made it yet because I haven't done a collaboration with Jay-Z.
There you go. I like that. Reach for the stars.
Yeah, but I rather think that's unlikely.
I got to dream big, right?
Yeah.
What's a piece of career advice you would offer to people who may be looking to go further in the entertainment field?
Not just entertainment field, but just do it. Just what you want to do. Thought I had that shut off. Just whatever you want to do, just do it and go every day. And you don't have to make huge progress every day. Just make a little bit of progress every day on something. And some days you don't have progress. Some days you go backward. Just etch away at it a little bit at a time, and eventually you make progress.
That's awesome. I love that. It's so true. No matter what field it is you're in, you're right. Mm. And last one, I'll ask you, what is success to you?
Well, my version of success is a little bit weird. I
didn't burn my tongue off. I didn't slit my own throat.
But my version of success is making people happy. I want to make the people happy, and that is very much my motto, is just make the people happy. I used to joke the secret of life is making people happy, and I kind of believe it. I love when I see people who are happy.
I love that. And I've just realized why I like you so much, because that is the same thing I say when people say to me, oh, to have your confidence. And I was like, I don't think of myself as a confident person. I think of this is going to make people's day better, even if it's 5 people. And that feeling is greater to me than the shame feeling of maybe I shouldn't do this, or maybe it's silly when I put on take a silly photo or put on something funny. It's like, it is people's joy gives me more joy than anything else.
I had one of my coaches, I know you're trying to wrap up, but very quick. One of my coaches, I post videos on Instagram all the time, and quite often it's like me juggling and dropping or something. And this coach said, Ian, you shouldn't have put up that video you dropped. Why would you do that? You should only show excellence in your videos. And I said, well, people love to see when you drop, they think it's funny, they like it. A couple of days later, they posted a video of them dropping. They messaged me and said, I've never gotten so many comments on a video.
It's so true. It's like when you're showing the human side in reality, it can't all just be a glossy highlight reel. Like, people need to see that you're a real person too. It's authenticity.
Yeah.
That's fantastic. Well, this has been incredibly enlightening. I'm so glad to hear that you've gotten through the last year of being kind of without shows well. And I have no doubt that, yeah,
I miss it.
No kidding. Hopefully we're on the upswing of that. And I have no doubt going forward, you're going to be very, very busy, making tons of people very happy.
I sure hope so. I've got lots of new tricks to show them.
I can't wait to see them. I hope I get to witness some more records or just in-person shows. I'll take that. And I will be keeping this as my memento for as long as I can.
Love it.
Thank you for letting me be a part of your incredible journey. And thank you for taking the time to talk to me today.
Thanks for having me. We'll see you soon.
All the best. Thanks for watching. Be sure to subscribe and share with a friend. Tune in next week for clinical psychologist Dr. Ange Cooper.